Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over what is happening today, what we can expect moving into tomorrow and the day after, and really just maybe next week as well. And just my overall thoughts on what I personally view here on this stock and what I expect next. So as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you like my technical analysis, updates, thoughts, etc., well, I share them every single day live with my members as the market is open constantly, so they get it first right away as I see it, as I'm thinking it, whatever the case may be, for just $3 a month. Link is below in the description for my YouTube membership. So again, if you're interested, would love to have you there for just $3 a month. You get access to my Tesla thoughts, updates, markets, etc. Or for $5, you get access to all of that and also NVIDIA daily updates on top of it. So let's jump into it. NVIDIA with a nice, I guess maybe not nice, but okay, we'll say 0.43% green day, which compared to the market, unfortunately, we'll say, it's a little bit of an underperformance, but it's honest. It honestly could have been worse, right? It honestly could have been worse. Now, what did we do today? Today, we pretty much had a nice massive gap up off of Micron earnings yesterday, and NVIDIA actually didn't hold up as well as AMD. AMD is holding up a much better, but nonetheless, NVIDIA, ever so slightly exiting overbought territories here on my bands. But unfortunately, it is still slightly overbought on the RSI and the stochastic. There is more room to the upside, but it pretty much really hit my target now of, well, actually went a little bit higher than my target. My main target was like 125 to 126. It actually went to about 127.5. So it actually it exceeded my target slightly. But the thing that's concerning for me here is the fact that the NVIDIA pretty much broke out of this downward trend, right? This downward wedge, the top line of it, of course, right? The resistance line, of course. It broke out of it, but then it ended up actually collapsing back under and closing with a red candle with a decent amount of selling pressure. So what I view with this is this. This is where it's a little bit slightly concerning, because I always view false breakouts very bad for that respective direction. For instance, right? Remember how we had that false breakout here? Let me remove these bands for now. Remember that 21 EMA? Remember we had that massive closure right below the 21 EMA, then we just gapped up above, held it, and then rallied. Usually what I say is when you get these kind of false breakouts or downs or whatever, expect a potential slingshot or a move to the opposite direction. And we kind of got that today. Like, I wouldn't put a crazy amount of weight into it because it's just so small, but we technically kind of got it, right? So that's why you could potentially expect a move to the opposite direction, maybe even fairly quickly. But honestly, the way I'd look at it, to make it simple and without putting too much like theoreticalness, if you will, into this, would be just the main levels. What are the main levels? 123, right? 123 is the main level. Why? Because, well, first of all, we held it today as support. We closed above the yesterday, which had a nice little continuation today. But on top of that, it is just that massive level that we held many times before, that we constantly kept getting support at, and even some rejections at over here, right? All these little situations back here, support, resistance, right? Very important level. So as long as it's above 123, I would argue it's actually kind of bullish, but it also really needs to start closing a daily candle above this trend line, which, again, it's a descending trend line, would be pretty much above about 126 to 127, somewhere around there. If we start closing daily candles above, and especially if we start holding back above. So, let's say as an example, let's say we come back up like this and we start closing daily candles like around here like this, and then we start coming back down and you start seeing like support getting built up around here, that is going to be very bullish, right? That's going to start confirming this breakout and confirming this as now support before old resistance. Now it'll be new support if that were to happen, and that, in my opinion, would be very bullish. And the percentage and the likelihood of a continuation upwards to at least 130 would be pretty high, in my opinion. So that's kind of what you want to wait for, but we're definitely not getting that yet, right? We actually got a pretty decent rejection off of that general range. So in my opinion, one of these two levels will snap, pretty much 123 to about 126 to 127. One of those levels will snap. As of right now, I probably expect consolidation sideways until one of these levels snaps. Let's talk about the levels, right? So again, if we break the upside level, if we break that 126, 127, we close above it, and we break out of this massive daily wedge. I mean, first of all, this is a pretty massive daily wedge, right? That's number one. So if we do break out of this, honestly, over the next, probably by the end of the year, I would expect at least a retest of all-time highs for NVIDIA. I'd be pretty surprised if it doesn't. So that's what I would expect if that were to happen. But that's the upside. The downside, unfortunately, is going to be, well, if we lose 123, we start closing candles below 123, like at least a 1 hour candle, but honestly, like a 4 hour or a daily candle will put a lot more, confidence behind that. If we close below that, well, that's where I expect the next level to get tested, back to where we were essentially forming that bull flag, right? Or bull wedge, bull flag, whatever, right? Pretty much around 120 to about 118. That general vicinity, I would expect us to move back down there pretty quickly. But that's where I would expect another range of support to come in, right? Why? Because, well, again, like I said before, we ended up, having a nice amount of support here before, or resistance rather before, as we were essentially creating that bull wedge or, bull flag, whatever. So I expect that to act now as support, pretty much 120 to 118. But on top of that, what we also have is, of course, that 21 EMA, which is going to be, assuming this happens over the next few days, pretty much meeting us at about 118. So the way I look at it, pretty simple. We lose 123, we move down to 120, 118. If we lose that, however, and we start closing daily candles below the 21 EMA again, which again, NVIDIA respects the 21 EMA, that's where I would expect to move back down ultimately, probably throughout October. Maybe it'll be fast, maybe it'll be slow, I don't know. But I would ultimately expect to move back down throughout October, probably close back down to this trend line, this green trend line, which will be somewhere around that 110-ish region, 108, just depends on when it happens and how quickly it actually occurs. But that's gonna be my main target if we lose that 21 EMA around 118 again. So it's pretty simple. If we lose 118, we probably go down to 110 ultimately. If we break above 126, I would expect all-time highs probably sometime by the end of the year, right? So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how NVIDIA decides to perform. I do think the markets potentially have a little bit more room to the upside, but I don't see that much more room to the upside. I'm starting to see some weakness creep into the markets, right? Slowly but surely. QQQ, I think, has a little bit more upside compared to SPY. I do think SPY looks a little bit weaker. I think QQQ maybe moves a little bit higher, maybe gets a little bit higher up here to closer to like 496.5 roughly for that gap fill. But like, I'd be shocked if it goes too much higher than all-time highs, if even all-time highs personally, because it's extremely overbought. It's starting to slowly lose some momentum here. And ultimately, I'd want to see QQQ at the very least come back down to about this 21 EMA around the mid 470s, if not a retest of this breakout that it had, which it hasn't retested yet, which I personally expected to sometime in October, honestly, which would be a little bit lower, unfortunately, probably somewhere around the high 460s. But again, we'll take it day by day, and we'll take it, step by step, right? There are some bearishness starting to creep in on QQQ, very close to a bearish crossover in the SMI. It's not there just yet, but it's very damn close. We have, of course, PCE tomorrow morning. That can actually be quite a big factor for how this market decides to enter October. So yeah, we'll see. But that's kind of what I'm thinking, and that's kind of what I'm expecting on NVIDIA. So let me know what you think down below, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of options flow, NVIDIA, let's take a quick look at that. I'll type this in right here. Very bullish options flow, right? I mean, options flow on NVIDIA today was very, very bullish. There's no question about that. A lot of calls coming in throughout the day on NVIDIA. But again, I want to make this very, very clear. This is obviously a good sign. The bulls are clearly stepping in, but again, I want to make it very clear. This doesn't mean everything. Like I said before, the best example was right before the previous earnings, when we were pretty much, actually roughly where we are right now. A lot of calls came in right before earnings, like a substantial amount of calls came in right before earnings, and well, we went the opposite direction, obviously. So just keep that in mind. Just take it for, with a grain of salt. Options flow, it's great, and it can give you some direction, but it's not the only thing that matters. But regardless, take it as you will. A lot of bulls came in today, regardless for NVIDIA. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Ladies and gentlemen, see you for the next one. Peace.